I've been building out this second desk setup over the last year with my main goal being to keep it as minimal as possible. I travel to this setup at my parents' every few months, and having to lug my PC rig and all of my other desk items is just a huge pain. But now I've gotten closer to having a dedicated clean setup here that I really like and almost dig more than my one back at home. For the desk build, I'm using two IKEA Alex drawers with a wooden butcher block on top. Coming from a chipboard desk, this is a huge upgrade and just feels super premium. The one thing I sort of don't like about it is the edges aren't completely straight, though I will admit that it gives it a unique look. On the back of the desk, I have a Govee light strip, which for $16 does the job, but it doesn't display colors very accurately. It's impossible to have it set pure white, which is a bummer, so I have it right now on more of a light blue color. I got them thinking they were compatible with Alexa with my Echo Show 5, but they aren't, so just beware of that. I use this as a desk alarm clock, and for that purpose it's perfect, but in every other way it's awful. Just trying to change the background was an absolute nightmare, and the whole UI of it is so sluggish. Now that it's set up though, it's very convenient to have for quickly glancing down at the time and setting reminders. At home I have a standing desk, so I do miss the versatility that offers, but sitting in this IKEA match belt chair all day, it still remained very comfortable. You don't get a ton of customization with it other than adjusting the height of the chair itself, the headrest, and the armrests, which by the way aren't super comfortable. They're all plastic and I just wish they had some cushion to them. You can move them forward and back, which is nice, but as you do, these things shake like crazy. The seat cushion though is pretty comfortable. I'm able to sit here for multiple hours without feeling the need to stand up. I do just wish you were able to pull it forward, as I always feel like I'm sitting a little too far back. Luckily, the backrest is very comfortable and its mesh material is breathable enough that I don't get hot even in this North Carolina heat. Leaning back in the chair is one of my favorite things to do, but the rear frame of it is so close to the mesh that you end up leaning against it every time. For just under $300, I really can't complain that much, and 90% of the time I'm completely comfortable. As for audio in the setup, I decided not to bring my speakers along just because they take up so much room, and the Beyerdynamic DT990 Pros I've been using are super comfortable. That says a lot because I'm usually not a fan of over-the-ear headphones. I got the M50Xs a few months ago for recording voiceovers, and they sounded super good, but I just don't find them comfortable at all. I really didn't want to go back to gaming headphones, so I picked these up and I've been so happy with them. The open back design makes for a very clear sound signature that is great for working and gaming at the desk. I can pinpoint enemies in FPS games a lot easier and feel way more immersed in single player titles like Cyberpunk. The only downside is you'll still be able to hear everything in the background, so if you're in a noisy environment, they may not be the best option for working. But if you have a creamy sounding keyboard, you get to appreciate it while still hearing all of your desktop audio. I'll talk more about this in a minute though. I've paired my headphones with the Scarlett 2i2 audio interface in order to drive enough power to these 250 ohm DT990s. This also connects my Shure SM7B mic and the Cloud Lifter that I use for all of my voiceovers, so I can give you guys the best audio quality. The Scarlett is one of the best cheaper options for an audio interface, and I've had it in my setup for over 2 years without any issues. I'd recommend getting the solo version though, unless you plan to record 2 audio channels at once. I picked up the Elgato low profile mic arm to put my SM7B on, and I've been really impressed with it. It's built extremely well and takes up a lot less room than most other mic arms. The cable management is really nice as well. You can lift up the magnetic covers to route your XLR cable and keep your whole audio setup looking clean. Underneath my audio interface is the Razer Thunderbolt 4 dock that I use to connect my M1 Pro MacBook to my 4K monitor and all of the other desk peripherals. At the front is an SD card that is super convenient, along with a 3.5mm audio jack and the host Thunderbolt port. Being at the front makes for a less clean look when docked, which is how I use the Mac the majority of the time, but it is nice if you want to use the Mac with the lid open. At the back are 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an Ethernet port, and 3 USB-A ports. I use all of these to connect my keyboard, mouse, audio interface, and external SSD. This makes taking the Mac away from and back to the setup super easy. The MacBook itself sits in this almond dock from Grovemade, and while very expensive, it's built well and looks incredible. The M1 Pro chip is more than capable for editing all of my videos and doing some web development on the side. When working on the 120Hz ProMotion display, every cursor movement feels buttery smooth. I'm glad that with this 144Hz gaming monitor from Gigabyte, I don't have to give that up. There is a USB-C port, but I'm using a USB-C to DisplayPort cable instead to connect to the monitor. monitor. I was honestly shocked at just how accurate the colors were out of the box, which has been a lifesaver when editing in DaVinci Resolve. The 4K resolution gives an incredible amount of clarity, but at the cost of a severe performance hit while gaming. In my custom PC rig, I am using an RTX 4080, so that does make up for it in most of the games I play, but when taking advantage of ray tracing, it's rare to even exceed 100 FPS. Still, in competitive games like Apex, I'm able to take advantage of the high refresh rate with great visuals. I'm used to using dual ultrawides in my main setup, but I've got to say, there's just something about a single monitor setup that's so clean. I almost feel like the setup has allowed me to focus better as there's less screen real estate to bring up random tabs. I built this PC in the Lian Li O11 Dynamic Mini, and while it still fits an ATX motherboard, it's extremely compact. I have 9 Uni fans in there in total, including 2 attached to the radiator from my NZXT Kraken AIO. Underneath it, I still have the i7 9700K, which I really need to get rid of as I have a pretty significant bottleneck with such a beefy GPU in there. My favorite component by far though is these 32GB RAM sticks from G.Skill, the Trident Z Royals. They're so expensive, but look incredible. The stand that comes with the monitor is quite bulky, so I went ahead and picked up this single monitor arm from Vivo. It clamps onto the tabletop and feels very stable. You're able to move the monitor and adjust the rotation easily, but you will need an Allen wrench anytime you want to raise the height or change the tilt. There's cable management clips that run along the arm that keep everything looking tidy, which is a much appreciated feature. I'm a big fan of monitor arms as they create this sweet floating effect, and for $30, I think it's a no-brainer to pick one of these up if your monitor is face mountable. On top of the monitor is this BenQ light bar, which is actually super useful as I often end up working or gaming late into the night. It lights up the entire desk so that I'm still able to see my keyboard and all of my other peripherals. It has a controller so you can adjust the brightness and color temperature, but it always slides around and it's just a pain to get on. So my keyboard is the Wooting 60HE, but I made a few mods to it. First was swapping the case out as the stock one was made of plastic and didn't look very good. This is a fully aluminum one from Mechanisk that just looks stunning. It has a lot of weight to it as well, so the entire board feels premium. The next thing I did was swap out these stock keycaps for these blank ones from Escape Keyboards. I'm a pretty good touch typer, so I don't really need to look at the legends ever, and I much prefer the clean look these give. This is also more of a gaming board for me as it's a 60% layout where I thought having the legends was less necessary anyways. That said, I've loved this board so much that I've used it for work as well, but when programming it is really annoying to have to hit function to use the arrow keys. Why this board is so good for gaming comes down to its switches, which unlike any other mechanical keyboard are analog and use a magnet to track how far each switch has been pushed down. With this, you can set a custom actuation point as well as enable a feature called Rapid Trigger that lets you register another key press the moment you lift your finger. Now stock, these switches didn't sound all that good, so I lubed them up and this was the result. The coiled cable I'm using is from Highstar and it goes along with the board's aesthetic very well. In this setup I used 2 different mice, the MX Master 3S for work and the G Pro X Superlight for gaming. The ergo design from Logitech is super comfortable and the side scroll wheel is something I love to have when editing these videos. Now when it comes to gaming, the shape of the Superlight is very comfortable, so I've been maining it the past few weeks. The stock feet aren't great though, so I did order some new ones off Amazon that have worked very well thus far. Also from Highstar is this desk mat. It's all black so fits well with the minimal aesthetic I'm going for. It dampens the sound profile of my keyboard and makes for a great balance of speed and control for the Superlight. So that's the current state of my second desk setup as of right now. Links to everything that I featured today will be in the description down below. And with that, I've been Cole and I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you next week when we'll be back in my home setup, but until then, take care.